I am a sickly person. Since childhood, I have been frail and plagued by illnesses, with a dispirited will. When it comes to being a useless good-for-nothing, I do it with ease and accept it with peace of mind. However, on the day I received a short video of my fiancée passionately kissing someone else, I was furious. I immediately let the pure and pretty maid move into the marital home. I said, "Let her live here. Throw out all of Willow's things." Chapter 1. The maid's room suddenly welcomed a girl in plain clothes with a side braid. I asked, "Who is she?" The butler respectfully replied, "Young master, this is the new bride that President Wang found for you, a ritual marriage for dispelling misfortune. She is said to be able to replace Miss Lu." The girl standing at the door wore a simple white dress and carried a bulging blue woven bag. But she stood very upright, slender, graceful, and spotless from head to toe. Even her old canvas shoes had been scrubbed so clean that they looked faded white. The butler introduced, "Young master, this is Anna, brought back from village of Clear Waters by President Wang. Her school transfer has already been arranged. Tomorrow, she will go to school with you." I looked at this stranger named Anna. Her features were smooth and gentle, her eyes clear and pure, even without makeup. Her fresh and refined beauty could not be concealed. She smiled as she asked a servant something, and only after making sure she wouldn't dirty the floor did she step inside to change her shoes. Her brows curved, her eyes tilted slightly upward. When she smiled, it inexplicably reminded people of a summer soda filled with ice, bubbling, refreshing, and thirst-quenching. I frowned. "She's someone my mother brought back," I asked, "but can she replace Willow?" Willow and I had a marriage contract since childhood. In name, she was my fiancée. In reality, she was chosen by my family after they sought the guidance of a fortune-teller during a time of worry, a life-saving girl. I had been weak since birth, suffering from congenital heart disease. I could die at any moment. It was calculated that Willow's destiny pattern matched mine. If she stayed closely tied to me, she could extend my life. The Wang family gave the Lu family immense benefits, so the Lu family sent Willow Lu to the Wang household for a ritual marriage for dispelling misfortune. The butler chose his words carefully. President Wang's meaning is that Anna can replace Miss Lu, but they don't conflict. If you still like Miss Lu, I couldn't even be bothered to lift my eyelids. When I thought of Willow kissing her desk partner in the classroom, a disgusting, sticky feeling immediately welled up. Downstairs, the young girl seemed to notice my gaze. She raised her eyes, and when they met mine, she froze for a moment. From above, I looked down at her, watching as she nervously set down her woven bag, bowed to me, then straightened and gave me a smile. It was like spring returning to the green fields, full of life. The irritation in my throat was effortlessly dispelled. Chapter 2. Anna was arranged to move into the maid's room downstairs. I said, "Have her move into the room next to mine." I told them, "Come see me after you've tidied it up." The room next door had originally been Willow's. The butler hurried up to steady me and asked carefully, "Young master, what about Miss Lu's things?" I replied, "Throw them all away." My tone was indifferent. I said, "Now that there's a replacement, the Wang family doesn't need her anymore." Anna didn't have many belongings. The butler said she had just put down her luggage and asked if she could wash up first. Maybe it wasn't really a bath. She only rinsed herself with cold water. Droplets clung to the tips of her hair, and she still trembled slightly when she came out. Anna changed into a new set of clothes. Well, newish. They were a bit worn, but it seemed to be the best outfit she owned, at least without patches. You could tell this was the most complete preparation Anna could imagine doing before meeting me. I smelled a faint scent of soap on her. Simple, but natural. Her Mandarin wasn't standard. She worked to adjust the tones and greeted me, "Benefactor, I've finally seen you." Those lake-like eyes were bright and clear, untouched by dust as sunlight fell into them. She looked at me devoutly and intently, as if she were looking at an ancestral shrine statue. "Benefactor," I said in a flat tone, "you were simply sold to the Wang family. That meant that from now until the day I died, she would lose her freedom and remain by my side. There was no difference between that and Willow." My answer seemed to stun Anna for a moment, but after only a few seconds she replied, "But I am not worth that price." The line sounded heavily self-deprecating, yet there was no self-pity in her expression. Anna smiled again, the brows curved, the eyes lifted at the corners, a smile full of youthful vigor. In the photo in her file she was smiling like that too, a sweet, clean smile that made the world seem sunny. She said, "You built the school that allowed me to continue my studies. You saved my sister and paid for medical bills I could never have earned in a lifetime. You took me away from village of Clear Waters, things I never imagined I'd see outside the village. I never thought I would meet you." Anna crouched down and looked up at me, her tone earnest. "Among so many people, being chosen by you, being bought by you, is my fortune." She looked obedient, like a kitten that wanted its head patted. I frowned in some puzzlement, because I couldn't understand how she could smile like that, living such a life, mired in mud with nothing beyond the horizon. Chapter 3. I had read Anna's file, a few sparse lines that sketched out a bleak, painful half-life. Her family was too poor. Her parents went out to work and never returned. Her grandfather raised her alone and, from overwork, died 2 years ago. Anna was forced to drop out of school, caring for her gravely ill sister while doing whatever she could to earn money for medicine. Later, my mother went to village of Clear Waters to invest in charity projects, established a loving school, and found her. Over the years my parents have run themselves ragged, one searching for the best medical team for me, the other creating charitable projects in my name. Paul and Laura were not superstitious people at first, but when human efforts could not change what was before them, when I first slipped into a coma in the ICU and doctors around the world were helpless, they began to pray to gods and visit temples. They started doing good deeds desperately, praying that merit would fall on me, and they began to believe in so-called metaphysics. They even hired masters and came to accept the idea of a marriage of fortune, searching everywhere for someone whose destiny pattern matched mine. The algorithm for destiny patterns is extremely complex. Very few people meet the conditions. In all these years I only encountered 2. Willow was the first. Anna was the second. In truth, I don't believe in any marriage of fortune either. How could metaphysical notions cure illnesses modern medicine cannot? How could a stranger I've never met bring me good luck? My body will inevitably decline, but I didn't want to disappoint Paul and Laura, so I let Willow stay by my side all those years and tacitly accepted that marriage contract. Chapter 4. Memories were not exactly warm. The tear-soaked eyelashes of my father and mother had poured storm after storm into the depths of my heart, yet I could only imprison that sorrowful, wailing, suffering version of myself, lest such violent emotions completely corrode my already crumbling body. I had long accepted my own death, but I could not help the greed of the mortal heart. I still wanted to live a little longer, at least long enough to accompany Paul and Laura for some more time. So the George who stood before them was always the cold, indifferent one. I said, "I understand." Then I looked at Anna and added, "There's no need to call me benefactor, and don't use the formal you." She bit her lip. "Mr. Wong." She lifted her head. "May I call you that?" I waved a hand. "Suit yourself." Anna looked as though she had gained something of great value. She was about to say something more when a breeze swept by. She quickly stepped back, turned away, and sneezed. At last, she seemed a little embarrassed. "Sorry, Mr. Wong." I glanced at her damp hair. "You just took a cold shower?" She said. "Yes." I thought, since I was going to meet Mr. Wong, I couldn't be disrespectful. I was afraid. I cut her off. "You don't know how to turn on the hot water." She nodded sincerely. I said, "Go dry your hair first, then have the butler teach you," meeting her eyes, brimming with expectation. I paused for a few seconds before muttering instead, "Forget it. Come with me." I began teaching Anna about some of the basic facilities in the room. She learned attentively. Then her gaze fell on a few small chairs in the corner, and her face turned thoughtful. I asked, "What is it?" She replied, "These chairs aren't suitable for you. They're too small. I think this room should have a wide, comfortable chair for Mr. Wong, so that when you come over, you can rest." I paused. This had originally been Willow's room. She had always liked delicate little furniture, and I rarely entered it. Just then, my phone buzzed. A message from Willow. She said, "I'll go back to my own house tonight." Then briefly reported, "I told Tony. He'll pick me up tomorrow morning." Tony was my driver and personal assistant. I finally remembered that an hour ago, I had planned to find Willow, to ask her about what she said with Makoto. "Let's keep our relationship hidden. George mustn't find out." "Don't worry, Makoto, I won't let him touch me." But now, the Wong family had no further need of her. From this moment on, she would be someone who had nothing to do with me. I didn't reply to her. Instead, I sent a message to Tony. The butler had already issued notice to revoke all of Willow's privileges, barring her from ever entering the Wong household again. I added, "From now on, don't pick Willow up anymore." Then I turned to Anna. "This is your room. If you want to replace anything, tell the butler yourself." She asked, "But can I come ask you?" I was puzzled. "Why ask me?" She said seriously, "Because it's a chair for you, so it should be something Mr. Wong likes." My voice was cold. "Suit yourself." But Anna smiled again, her lips curving upward, fresh and bright, as if some great happiness had struck her head on. She must have memorized my routine. One glance at the clock on the wall and she knew it was time for me to rest. So she said, "See you tomorrow, Mr. Wong." After a pause, I added, "See you tomorrow." Chapter 5. That memory was not warm. I dreamed that night of Willow as a child. Willow had been raised in my family since she was little. The room next to mine was hers. She came to live at the Wong household whenever she wanted, and went home whenever she wished, because of me. Her daily necessities and treatment were always top tier. The Wong family's only requirement of her was, stay with me, comfort me, and don't let me get angry. Unsurprisingly, she had to remain by my side until my death, and even marry me. We grew up together, attended the same school, sat in the same class. We were childhood friends for nearly 10 years. She excelled in her studies and was strikingly beautiful. A life of luxury had given her an air of aristocratic refinement, like a highland flower blooming in the snow. Willow's temperament was cool and restrained. She never showed much emotion, and there was always a faint pride in her gestures. That pride only softened when she was with me. Even so, she merely followed the Wang family's instructions and did nothing extra. Our interactions were always as bland as water. On pleasant days she would accompany me for walks, bring me a book she liked when we went to the library, or order a dish I often ate at meals. But that was all. We hardly spoke. When we were children, Willow might have agonized over how to please me, but once she realized my emotions were always faint and that I rarely grew angry, she learned a lighter way of living. She wouldn't exhaust herself trying to win me over, nor would she spend extra time communicating with me. To her I became more and more like an invisible shackle she could not free herself from. At the time I didn't think much of it. My body was destined to prevent me from carrying vivid, intense emotions, excitement, anger, pain, sorrow. I could not possess them. I was too fragile. So Northwest one dared come close. They couldn't bear the risk of me getting hurt. I had grown used to Willow's presence and companionship, tolerated her hauteur, and I wasn't angered by the occasional arrogance she displayed. To me she was, more than anything, a tool that gave my parents some psychological comfort. But I was flesh and blood after all. 10 years of constant companionship meant I had invested one of the few feelings I was capable of into Willow. Makoto was a student admitted by special selection. His family was poor and he was timid. Even when bullied he would not resist. Yet he always seemed inexhaustibly energetic and cheerful. He could be rejected countless times and still smile as he asked classmates to play ball with him. He could volunteer to run for class president. He could sign up to perform at school events and sing his heart out. He was the opposite of me, healthy and vivacious. It was the first time I realized Willow had so many words to say, that she would thoughtfully inquire about someone's tastes, wash hands and cook for another, and be genuinely moved by a gift instead of being picky. So everything about her and Makoto had long since been placed before me. They even handed me surveillance footage of the two of them kissing after evening study. Makoto said, anguished, "It's so cruel. Why does George have to bind you to him? Haven't you lost enough freedom already?" Willow was silent for a moment, then said plaintively, "His health is poor. We have to hide this for now." "Makoto, don't worry. I won't let him touch me," she added. "Anyway, I've borne this for so long, I don't mind waiting a bit longer. After that, we'll be free." Then they cuddled together again, sweet and affectionate, like a pair of ill-fated lovers I had torn apart. I couldn't say I was angry. That kind of emotion would swell up and leave me breathless. I was only slightly curious and wanted to ask her myself, in person, wronged. What did she mean by being wronged? Chapter 6. At school. After Anna accompanied me into the classroom, everyone froze. Then surprised, incredulous expressions spread and whispers started. Someone said, "Who is that? I've never seen her before." Another said, "Weird, why isn't it Willow?" A classmate asked, "Did the Wang family switch girls?" A girl snapped, "Ugh, how come these good things never come to me? Blame my mom for not giving birth to me at the right hour." Another girl asked, "Can I try? I want to be the Wang young master's ritual marriage lucky charm. I want to see Willow's face." Someone else said, "Great, George finally got tired of her." Anna looked nervous at first, since nearly the whole class was staring at her, but she quickly relaxed. She told me, "I will study hard." I gave her a blank look. She added, "I'll get first place. I definitely won't embarrass the Wang family." Her voice was devout, like making a vow. I was speechless. She came over to my side and began to tidy my desk, polishing it from top to bottom until it gleamed. The butler said that after I went to rest last night, Anna helped the housekeeper mop the floor, helped the gardener water the flowers, then jogged around the yard while quietly reciting English. She even took out a small notebook and wrote things down. I glanced at it without meaning to and found it was all about me. How long I usually nap, when I like to go for walks, what kind of books I read in the reading room, what kind of breakfast I like, when I take my medicine. A single page filled with these notes. She had gotten up before dawn today, gone for a morning run, taken a shower, and started studying. She had helpfully assisted the chef in preparing breakfast. That delicate epiphyllum pastry on today's plate was made by her. Can a person really have so much endless energy? I was baffled and asked, "Aren't you tired?" She shook her head. "Not tired," she said, then poured me a cup of hot water and looked up at me with a smile. "I'm happy to do these things." I had seen countless people lie before. They wear masks, flattering, hypocritical, affected, ingratiating, offering hollow blessings, including Willow. Sometimes Willow's concern felt forced, tinged with resentment she had to swallow down. I could see it all, but I was unwilling to expose it. I didn't even have the spare energy to care about their true thoughts hidden inside. It didn't matter. I wouldn't mind. But I had never seen anyone like Anna. She seemed like a spring rain from the mountains, untainted by the city's grime, not hardened by sudden cold or snow. She didn't hide her ignorance from me, nor was she ashamed of it, and she concealed nothing. Everything she said sounded true. Chapter 7. The class bell rang. A girl's voice sounded. Report. It was Willow, arriving late at last. Makoto trailed behind her, looking rather disheveled. Willow's breathing was uneven, her chest rising and falling sharply, but her gaze in that first instant landed on me, or rather, on Anna, who sat beside me. Willow froze. Her face flickered with confusion, puzzlement, irritation, anger, yet she quickly suppressed it all. In the end, she only sat down with a dark expression. Even when Makoto, beside her, tried to appease her with a servile smile, she ignored him. Her deliberate refusal to look at me carried an undercurrent of restlessness. I paid no attention to her actions, not sparing her a single glance, because I was busy teaching Anna how to use the electronic devices required in class. She knew nothing, but she was quick to learn. Even the questions that revealed a lack of common sense didn't feel annoying coming from her. The first lesson was English listening practice. Anna naturally shared one of her earphones with me. The sunlight gilded her dark, glossy hair with a soft golden sheen, and her smile lifted the mood like a breeze. The words of refusal I'd meant to say caught in my throat. Normally, I never participated in such exercises or classroom training. First, because studying drained too much of my strength, and everyone hoped I would rest instead. Even attending school like a normal student was something my parents debated for a long time before agreeing to. Second, because none of this was difficult for me. The English dialogues that seemed complex and incomprehensible to Anna were ones I could reproduce word for word without effort. But Anna didn't know that. Nor did she assume my abilities were natural or taken for granted. When she looked at me, it wasn't as though she were seeing a patient to be treated with wary distance, nor an anomaly she had to flatter. She was simply looking at me, just George. Even if she called me Mr. Wong, her eyes held no excess, only clarity and sincerity. I paused for a few seconds, then accepted the earphone. Soon, the training was over. The foreign teacher at the podium continued energetically. Anna was clearly struggling to keep up with the all-English lesson, but she was focused, serious. Her pen never stopped moving. Perhaps noticing the new face in class, the teacher warmly invited her to act in a role-play skit, but his speech was too fast. Even after he repeated himself, many sentences were still unclear to Anna. Now Anna stood up, looking a little lost. She hadn't understood what he wanted. The class looked at her, surprised, but out of courtesy, no one spoke up, and in that silence, one faint scoff cut through like a knife. It was Willow. Though she said nothing, the curve of her lips betrayed a subtle disdain, an unmistakable trace of mockery. She raised her hand, speaking fluently with the teacher. "Teacher, let me do it," Willow said in perfect American English, the result of lessons from my former English tutor. "This new student can't even understand what you're saying. What you're asking is beyond her ability." Her tone was calm, but the ridicule was obvious. Makoto clearly sensed something was wrong. He whispered to Willow, but she ignored him completely. Her gaze locked on Anna, as if staring at a mortal enemy. But Anna did not react the way Willow expected. She showed no trace of humiliation or shame. Her attitude toward her own ignorance was always calm. Things like this never seemed to wound her pride. Instead, she simply looked a little embarrassed and whispered to me, "Mr. Wong, did I make you lose face?" I shook my head, then raised my hand. "Teacher," I said slowly, "I'll be her partner." The foreign teacher's face lit up with delight. "Really? That's wonderful." Anna turned to me. I explained, "She's inviting you to act out a role-play skit." Suppressing the faint itch in my throat, I added calmly, "I'll do it with you." The teacher's speech was too fast. Anna might not keep up. Besides, Willow was deliberately trying to embarrass her. There was no way I would sit by and watch. But I had never volunteered for this sort of class activity before. This was the first time. Anna didn't realize it, but Willow did. Her expression went blank. Then, whether out of shock or disbelief, her gaze darted away before returning to me. Her fine brows and eyes filled with incredulity. For a moment, she almost lost control. She even stood up and said coldly to the teacher, "Don't you know, George's condition isn't suitable for these activities." The teacher froze, her face a mix of confusion and awkwardness. She was new this semester. Of course other teachers had told her about my condition, but to her, this was just a small classroom skit, especially since I had volunteered to participate. "George," she said uncertainly, looking at me. I frowned slightly, ignoring Willow entirely. Clearing my throat, I said, "I can. Let's begin." Willow's face turned pale. Her lips trembled as if she wanted to speak, but her pride forced her into silence. She sat down, unwilling, defeated. The exercise was an excerpt from a British drama. I slowed my pace, reshaping the awkward, complex lines into simpler structures. Anna understood. Her spoken English wasn't standard, but her voice was pleasant, earnest and focused. When we finished, the teacher applauded us first. Anna sat down, turned her head toward me, and her eyes shimmered with light. Tilting her head, she said, "Mr. Wang, you're amazing." I wanted to brush it off as nothing, but paused, and instead said, "You'll be able to as well. In the future." I thought, I'll hire her a better English tutor when we return. Chapter 8. The school cafeteria had 5 floors. The 5th floor had been reserved by my parents exclusively for me. Every day, nutritionists and chefs customized my meals, and there were some buffet sections as well. It was essentially my private lounge. A few classmates, those I was on good terms with or whose families had business ties with mine, were also allowed to come up. Anna and I sat by the window. A few students came over, smiling as they greeted us, their eyes flicking curiously over Anna but without rudeness. Anna said, "They seem to envy me." She lifted her eyes to me, her gaze clear and bright, carrying a smile. "Is it because I can sit across from Mr. Wang at lunch?" My tone was flat. "That's nothing worth envying." Willow had never liked eating with me, probably because I ate slowly. My food was bland, and the sight alone dulled one's appetite. Also because I was boring, with little to say, making others lose the desire to share. Or maybe because she was always trying to please me, flatter me, and in doing so, lost the joy of food entirely. Anna paused, staring at me for a moment. Her voice carried confusion as she asked instinctively, "That's not something worth envying." The next second she realized what she'd said, and her cheeks flushed red. Even the girl who showed no embarrassment when mocked in class now seemed flustered, like someone whose secret feelings had just been exposed. But perhaps she didn't know how to lie. She stumbled over her words, explaining in fragments, "Because, being with Mr. Wang, it makes me feel happy." What? It took me a while to process what she meant. Like wind rippling across the surface of a lake, a knowing silence lingered for several seconds. We both lowered our heads and continued eating. Chapter 9. Suddenly there was a commotion at the entrance. Willow was walking up with Makoto. Both of them looked as though their moods had recovered. The irritation and discontent from the morning were gone. Willow's eyes now rested on Makoto with tender affection. She said, "Makoto, have you ever tried seafood stew? On the 5th floor buffet they make a few pots every day. You should taste it later." "Sure." Makoto smiled indulgently. "But this kind of thing is just for trying. You shouldn't eat it every day. It's easy to go from simple to extravagant, but hard to go back. Honestly, sometimes these expensive foods don't taste as good as the spicy hot pot stalls outside." Willow nodded in agreement. "All right then, if you don't like it, we can go out and eat spicy hot pot instead." But the next moment, they were stopped. The cafeteria manager at the entrance said politely, "The 5th floor is not open to the public. Please use another floor." Willow froze. She asked in disbelief, "Do you know who I am?" The manager's smile didn't waver. "You don't have access to the 5th floor." Willow's face darkened instantly. Word by word, she said, "You should know what my relationship with George is." The manager replied calmly, "Is that so?" His smile faded as his gaze swept meaningfully over Makoto, whose expression had stiffened. "I've received notice. Your engagement to young Master Wang has been dissolved, and your 5th floor privileges have been revoked." Willow's face went blank. She asked slowly, "What did you say?" Makoto's lips curved at the words, but he quickly suppressed it, feigning confusion as he glanced at Willow. The manager, still polite, said, "You will soon receive the notice yourself." "I don't believe it," Willow blurted out. A moment later she composed herself, tugging at her lips with forced calm. "I'll ask him myself. What you received is false news." But the manager didn't budge. "Please dine on another floor." As they argued, the employees on the 5th floor began casting strange looks at Willow. Someone couldn't help but snicker. In the end it was Makoto who broke under the weight of the atmosphere. With an awkward smile he whispered, "Willow, let's just go out for spicy hot pot. It doesn't matter. Honestly, that food doesn't even look appetizing." But Willow wouldn't move. She had been pampered all her life, respected everywhere she went. How could she accept being humiliated in public like this? She said, "Think carefully." After steadying her breath, her voice carried a threat. "I am the daughter of the Liu family. You're just a low-level employee who flatters the powerful and tramples the weak. Whether you can keep this job depends on one word from me." The manager replied, "Are you threatening me?" His smile disappeared completely, his voice firm and unyielding. "Even if you are a Liu family heiress, I work for the Wang family. I only follow the Wang family's orders." The crowd grew larger, and Willow's patience was clearly gone. With a cold snort she said, "You'd better understand the consequences of what you're doing." The manager retorted, his tone finally icy. "Young Master Wang revoked your right to enter this cafeteria. Today, you cannot come in." Chapter 10. As they spoke, I had already walked to the entrance. "What consequences does he need to consider?" I asked. The manager immediately greeted me, his voice tinged with apology. "Young Master Wang," he said, Forgive me for disturbing your meal. I shook my head. You did well. Go back to your duties. Then I lifted my eyes to Willow. He is an employee of the Wong family, acting on my behalf. So if he doesn't let you into the cafeteria, what right do you have to threaten his job? Willow pressed her lips together. George, I was just upset that he spread false rumors. Her voice unconsciously softened a little, but the moment her eyes landed on Anna beside me, her tone turned cold again. With a faint, disdainful snort, she said, I wanted to ask this morning, why didn't the driver come to pick me up? And who is she? I'm your fiancée. Don't you think you owe me an explanation? Willow, I cut her off. He wasn't lying. The engagement is over. What? You don't need to come to the Wong household anymore. My tone carried no emotion. You're free. Earlier than expected. Willow froze. Then, pointing at Anna, her voice rose sharply. It's because of her, isn't it? Because you found a replacement. You can so easily cast me aside. George, do you even have a heart? Noisy, tactless, blind to the situation. In the past, my patience had always been abundant. I rarely grew angry, because anger wasn't worth it, and because I didn't care about trifles. But that didn't mean I would tolerate her yelling at me, even if I allowed it. My parents never would. I coughed lightly twice, about to speak, when Anna spoke first. Mr. Wong. She lifted her gaze to me, her face innocent, her tone soft. If Willow is no longer your fiancée, then whatever I do to her, you won't mind, will you? I looked at her, puzzled, and replied, I wouldn't. Almost the instant I finished speaking, smack, Anna's hand struck across Willow's face. Anna had grown up in the mountains, doing laundry, cooking, hauling water and firewood, caring for her sister while attending school. Though her figure looked slim and delicate, she was in truth resilient and strong. In a flash, Willow's cry of pain, Makoto's angry scolding, and the gasps of onlookers all blended together. The image of Anna I held in my mind was completely overturned. Willow was pinned beneath her, desperately raising her arms to block the blows, like an antelope caught at the neck by a leopard, letting out terrified whimpers. Makoto, meanwhile, looked utterly cowardly. He stretched out his hands, half-heartedly pushing, half-heartedly shielding, putting on the pretense of protecting Willow. But Anna landed a slap on him too, sending him stumbling back. He muttered weakly, if not for the fact that I don't hit women. Anna's smile had vanished. Her expression was cold, her entire being wreathed in a chilling aura. Of course, what else could one expect? A child from the remote countryside, blessed with such striking looks, yet forced to care for her ailing grandfather and younger sister. Without her edges, she would have been torn apart long ago, left with nothing. Spring rain often comes with a biting chill. The scene stunned everyone present. After restraining Willow, Anna no longer moved. She only turned her head to look at me, obediently waiting for my words. In the past, I never liked resolving matters through violence. Yet somehow, this feeling wasn't unpleasant at all. I crouched down and asked, Willow, who allowed you to speak to me that way? Reaching for a cup of water at the side, I slowly poured it over her head. Are you clear-headed now? Makoto stood by like he hadn't seen a thing, not daring to make a sound. Soaked through, Willow looked as though she had been shaken awake from a dream, finally realizing where she was and what kind of scene this was. Rationality returned to her, and so did fear. She lowered herself to me. George, I'm sorry. I just didn't understand. Why was the engagement suddenly dissolved? Even if you found someone to replace me, after so many years together, the feelings we shared, I repeated her words. So many years of feelings. I tasted them, my voice cool as ice. But in your eyes, it was nothing more than shackles you couldn't shake off. What feelings were there to speak of? Willow's face went pale. She shook her head. No, it's not like that. I never thought so. George, I was wrong. I apologize. The manager handed me another cup of water. Shoo. My low voice cut her off. Her hollow confession was sickening. I poured again. Slow and steady. Was it the Liu family that gave you such confidence? My gaze shifted to Makoto. The confidence to tell him that once I'm dead, you'll both be free. The air froze. Not a sound. Willow's expression could no longer be described as merely ugly. It was terrified, desperate. She looked around at the gathering crowd, searching for words to defend herself, but nothing came. But Makoto, he seemed to recover first. Clenching his fists, he stammered, Young Master Wong, I know Willow was engaged to you, but she never loved you. You've kept her at your side for so many years. Isn't that enough? And now that you found someone to replace her, now that you know the truth, why not just let her go? I smiled. Haven't I already let her go? The engagement is over. Your romance has nothing to do with me. Makoto blinked, then asked nervously, then? Young Master Wong won't target us afterward, right? I paused, staring at the two of them seriously before speaking the truth in my heart. Are you that important? Puffed. Someone in the crowd laughed, then another, and another, until chuckles and snickers rippled through the air. Why would young Master Wong waste energy on the likes of you? Someone said, "Go act in a melodrama, no one here cares about you. Stupid and shameless, not knowing your place." Others joined in. "What shackles? Are you insane? Has young Master Wang ever restricted Willow's freedom? He even ignored it when you pulled your disgusting tricks, just dissolving the engagement. That's all." Exactly. Some people want it both ways. If you wanted freedom, you should have confessed to the Wang family yourself. But no, you couldn't part with the resources they gave you. Right, without the Wang family. Who do you think you are? Willow. Really thought you were some beloved princess? Do something wrong, get away without punishment, and still make a scene. Don't you know the 5th floor is young Master Wang's private dining hall? You sneak in for free meals, and drag your boyfriend with you. Where's your shame? So jealous of people who can be this shameless. The mocking tore them apart. Makoto kept his head down in humiliation. As for Willow, her face burned red. Only when Anna released her did she manage to push herself off the ground. She opened her mouth, wanting to reach for my sleeve, but I shoved her hand away. "Anna," I said, no longer sparing them a glance. "I'm a little tired. Let's go." Chapter 11. Beside the campus was a small park. It had also been reserved by my parents as a private retreat, with a gate in the back wall that only I could enter. I liked to come here during lunch breaks, walking alone into this ocean of green. The wind rustled. The sun was warm. Every stir of the leaves carried its own rhythm. I breathed together with countless lives. Even if I was alone, I never felt lonely. Anna didn't know Willow had never once stepped into this secret grove. She didn't ask about what had just happened in the cafeteria, nor about Willow or Makoto. Instead, she crouched down in delight, pointing at a cluster of mushrooms. "These are edible." She told me she often foraged in the mountains, wild fruits, mushrooms, she knew them all by heart. She said she could make swings and hammocks, and next time wanted to build one here. She even said she had some little bird friends in the forest. Once, when a storm was coming, she had moved their nest to a safer spot, and afterward they often came to her to play. I listened intently. Finally, Anna tilted her head toward me. "Mr. Wang, let's make a kite and fly it together." She added, "I'll make sure it soars higher, and you'll stay here, holding the string." The change of subject was sudden, but I only smiled lightly and said, "All right." She went on, "Next time I'll bring a tablecloth. We can have a picnic here. After eating, you can nap, and I'll sit by your side to chat. If you get tired, I'll push you back." The scene she painted sounded tempting. I thought about it, then couldn't help but smile. At last I said slowly, "All right." Words like next time, in the future, if, they were too far away from me, but I didn't want to dampen her joy. Someone who lives each day facing death has no reason to disappoint the one who cares for them. Anna. I called her name seriously. "In the future, you can make your own friends, go to a good university, find a good job, fall in love, marry, and live the life you want." We both knew when the future meant. Anna was silent for a few seconds. Then suddenly she apologized. "Mr. Wang, I'm sorry." I frowned slightly. "For what?" she said. "Even though your life will still be very long, if you always put things off for someday, you'll end up with regrets." She smiled. "So let's have that picnic tomorrow." She smiled at me, though her eyes were like a sunshower, bright but filled with rain. I still said, "All right." She asked, "Mr. Wang, are you this kind to everyone?" I said, "This is kindness." "Yes." She tilted her head, muttering something softly. "Anna," I asked, "were you angry at Willow and Makoto just now?" "Yes." She nodded. "They offended you." Their apology wasn't sincere. Yet when they offended her, she hadn't been angry. She hadn't even cared about Willow's humiliation. I asked again, "Are you always this dutiful in your work? At least in attitude and in providing comfort?" She far surpassed Willow's hollow pretense. She shook her head after a pause, her voice low. "No, only for you, Mr. Wang." If someone else had said this, I might have laughed, but from her lips, it sounded utterly sincere. I asked, confused, "Why?" I saw no selfishness in her, no ulterior motive. Even though the Wang family had paid her well, sincerity cannot be bought. "Because you forgot me." Her voice was very light. "Actually, we met a long time ago." That truly surprised me, but Anna seemed to realize she had slipped. Quickly she changed the subject. "I should have hit her harder just now. If I had pressed her, she would have answered, but I didn't. Instead, I followed her words. Anna, there are many ways in this world far more painful than a slap. My existence made Makoto and Willow look like star-crossed lovers. So Willow wouldn't be honest with me, and Makoto pitted her supposed helplessness. But really, there is no such thing as helplessness. It is always just calculation and greed. Chapter 12. Of course my parents learned about Willow and Makoto. Like me, they wouldn't punish the two juniors directly. Instead, they cut things off cleanly. They terminated all resources given to the Liu family and announced the end of the cooperation between the two families. They also had Willow and Makoto moved to other floors. After all, my class was special. Entirely sponsored by the Wang family. We enjoyed the best educational resources and equipment, top university lecturers giving talks, and even annual study abroad spots provided for free, opportunities to meet the Wang family's business partners at school events. These were things many families dreamed of. Now Willow and Makoto were packaged up and sent away. The cards the Wang family had given Willow were deactivated. Her privileges to spend at any Wang-owned property were revoked. All the resources she had relied on from the Wang family were cancelled. Newspapers and media that had once praised her were suddenly indifferent. Classmates who had always greeted her with smiles changed how they treated her. No one fawned over her or admired her. The endless supply of luxury clothes, bags, and jewelry from the Wang family stopped. All this happened almost overnight. Losing the identity of George's fiancée turned Willow's world upside down. I don't know what she was thinking, because she had no chance to see me. She simply started sending frantic messages. At first she couldn't believe it. Her texts read, "George, can you please not cancel the engagement? Why would the Wang family issue such a statement? My family is furious now. George, is the card you gave me frozen? I'm in a bad mood today and wanted to go to Violet Restaurant, but there's no table. Didn't you say you liked that place and reserved a private room for me? I can go anytime, right? I don't want to cut ties with you. Don't you remember? Our destiny patterns match. We're meant to be. Please don't be angry with me. Okay, your health matters most." Then panic set in. Her messages turned desperate. "Do you really not want me anymore? I went to the Wang house to find you today and was kicked out. Let me see you. If it's because of Makoto, we broke up. He transferred schools. After being with him I realized I was foolish. I don't truly love him. He had bad intentions. He knew I was your fiancé and still fussed over me. I was bewitched by his sweet talk. I promise I'll never see him again. George, I've been thinking a lot lately. I was too stupid before. Can we go back to how things were? You were so good to me. I want to repay you." Finally she begged. She sent voice messages, choking on her words. "Even if you have Anna by your side, can't I stay too? I won't compete with her. As long as you let me remain by your side. Please, see me. I miss you so much. I really miss you. Without you, I'm not doing well at all. I keep dreaming of us sitting in the courtyard reading. I want to live like that forever. Please lock me up with you. I don't need freedom. I just want to be by your side." I blocked her. She couldn't reach me and could only post contrite messages on social media. Occasionally I saw them, with Makoto and her insulting each other in the comments and an audience of onlookers piling in. I glanced once or twice and lost interest. I also didn't want to be the center of gossip. Within seconds, both their accounts were muted and then silenced. From then on they vanished from the internet. Chapter 13. I think I had a dream. I dreamed that when I lived in the hospital, I picked up a paper airplane by the window. On it, in crooked childish handwriting, was a single simple wish: want to get better. Eat a watermelon-flavored lollipop. A very plain wish. Getting better isn't that simple, but giving a child a candy is easy for me. So that day I told the butler to hand out a big bag of lollipops to every child in the hospital who was allowed to have candy, watermelon, grape, and orange flavors. Later I found more paper airplanes. That child seemed to think I was a kind of fairy. He happily described how tasty the lollipops were, made wishes to me, and praised me as the greatest fairy. Those wishes were simple, sometimes to see fireworks, sometimes to draw, sometimes to keep a potted flower. So I gave that group of young patients spinning tops, oil pastels, and a little bouquet for each of them. I didn't let anyone know I existed, and I never tried to find out who owned the paper airplane. At some point, other handwriting began to appear on the planes, neat and refined. Only a few words each time. Get well soon. Live a long life. May everything go smoothly. Maybe it was the child's parents, making wishes for them. That's what I thought. But sadly life and death are not under anyone's control. I couldn't make those wishes come true. Before I left that hospital, I donated a large sum for treatment. Eligible patients could apply. I left one last paper airplane on the first floor, writing only one line: get well, goodbye. But when I got in the car to leave, I thought I heard running footsteps behind me. I looked back. A girl rushed out the door. I couldn't clearly see her face, or perhaps after so many years, my memory has simply blurred. A breeze brushed my cheek. Half awake, I opened my eyes and saw the kite above me, a swaying sea of green in the breeze, and the girl sitting quietly beside me, as if she were drawing. Those familiar oil pastels. How many years have I given them out? Why do they still look so well preserved? She looked at me. Her face gradually overlapped with the one from my dream. I asked, Anna, on the paper airplane, were you making wishes to me on behalf of your sister? She froze when she looked at me again. Those clear, clean eyes were full of midsummer scenery, sunlight dancing inside them. Finally they curved into a lovely shape. She said, softly, no. Then in a low voice, I was praying for you. Chapter 14. When the Liu family came to force Willow Liu to apologize, I was sitting in the front courtyard by the gate, looking over Anna's report card. She had promised to make us a picnic, to build a kite that could fly high, and to get first place so she wouldn't embarrass me. She had done all of it. I hadn't yet decided how to praise her when a commotion sounded at the gate. Deprived of the Wang family's shelter and support, the Liu family's status had plummeted recently. The Liu household had shrunk back to a modest small business that made a few $100,000 a year, enough to live decently, but a far cry from their former wealth. Once you've tasted enormous riches, coming down to thrift is hard. Losing what you once had is undeniably the most painful thing. It was like that for the Liu family, and for Willow. So although they knew I didn't want to see her, they finally could not help themselves. The whole family showed up. Willow knelt at the gate begging my forgiveness. Every face wore pleading expressions. It was the first time I'd seen Willow in months. She looked awful, haggard, eyes rimmed red. The instant she saw me, her eyes lit up and she inched toward me on her knees. Her posture of eager supplication was humiliatingly ingratiating. The formerly proud, aloof air had vanished. Those airs of refinement and coolness seemed like nothing but smoke. Losing the title of George's fiancée had toppled the luxury stacked around her. She'd lived better than most, yet she was unwilling to accept the fall. She truly, sincerely regretted it now. Calling my name in frantic pleas, George, I looked instead at the middle-aged man who led the Liu family and said coldly, "Do not appear before me again." The faces of everyone in the Liu family froze. Willow went still, tears spilling from her eyes. "I'm not persecuting the Liu family," I said, "but if you persist in harassing me, you will bear the consequences." My expression and gaze made it clear I meant every word. The Liu patriarch seemed to recall something and was frightened. His lips trembled as he nodded repeatedly, saying nothing further, and dragged Willow away. Willow screamed hoarsely, begging me, "George, I'm sorry. George, please don't abandon me." Over and over, earnest to the point of pain, until the cries faded. "Anna." I only looked at Anna, because I had finally thought of how to praise her. "Look up." She looked at me, those clear eyes probably not quite understanding what I intended. I gently stroked her cheek and leaned down a little. When I caught her gaze, her face flushed instantly. She pressed her lips together and said, "Mr. Wang." She said, shyly, "If you want to praise me in the future," her voice was bashful, "could you always do it this way?" She would not lie to me, even about something embarrassing. With her lips slightly pressed, she admitted it. "I really like it." I looked away, feeling heat at my fingertips. I said, "All right." Chapter 15. The day Anna was admitted to the country's top medical school, my parents accompanied me to the hospital for a full checkup. When the results came out, everyone cheered. The illness hadn't worsened, on the contrary, it had even improved. Maybe the new medication worked better. Maybe cooperating with treatment had lifted my spirits. Maybe it was the skill of those increasingly brilliant doctors. Or maybe it was something else. "Son." My mother wiped tears from the corners of her eyes, her voice nearly choking. "I'm so happy." My father turned away, his gaunt cheeks flushed with red-rimmed eyes. I asked, a little dazed, "Does this mean I can stay with you both a while longer?" They couldn't hold back anymore. They burst into tears. Chapter 16. Do people really share something like a destiny pattern? Paul and Laura didn't know, but that year, they went to Village of Clear Waters to help build a school. At a girl's window, they saw a paper airplane. The handwriting on it was all too familiar, their son's. The girl's face also looked familiar, as if she had once applied for the charity fund they'd set up at the hospital to save her gravely ill sister. The master traveling with them let out a soft murmur. He said that this girl, Anna, had once undergone a great shift in her destiny pattern. She had been fated for orphanhood and hardship. Yet because she had met a benefactor, she had gone from misfortune to fortune. Now, her destiny pattern and George's were said to be a perfect match, a bond written in the stars. Do people really have such fated ties? Paul and Laura hadn't believed so before, but George had driven them to beg every god in heaven, to cling to every trace of cause and effect, even to put faith in something as nebulous as fate. And so, they brought Anna into the Wang family. They asked her, "What do you want?" She only smiled and said, "I've already written my wish to the little angel." The little angel who lived on the hospital rooftop. The one her sister spoke of as all-powerful. She had sent countless paper airplanes. She had glimpsed him from afar in hidden corners, never daring to disturb him with thanks. She had prayed for him thousands of times, wishing him a long life. Chapter 17. I had another dream. When I woke, Anna was pushing my wheelchair. Suddenly, I wanted to climb a mountain to watch the sunrise. It was actually just a small hill, one that could be reached by cable car, but I wanted to try climbing it myself. Of course, after a short while I grew tired, but the sunrise at the summit was beautiful. The medical team traveling with us took a Polaroid of me and Anna. She carefully tucked it into her little notebook, the one filled with things about me. I asked, "Can I see it?" She froze, a little flustered, her brows curved, her eyes tilted upward. If it had been before, I would have told her forget it, but somehow, The longer I spent with her, the more mischievous I became. I said nothing, just looked at her quietly. Anna pouted, then handed it over. The wind lifted the yellowed pages. Every page had the same line written on it. George, may you live a long life. On the front page, there was a little doodle of a smiling figure. It was dated the very first day she came to the Wang family. She had written, "Today, the little angel smiled at me once. It feels like spring has arrived early."